Hello and welcome, I'm Valerie from MotoPress. Today we'll review a new feature in the hotel booking plugin that lets you add gateway-specific transaction fees to your bookings. In simple terms, this means you can pass payment processing costs directly to your guests instead of covering them yourself. This applies to the default online payment methods such as Stripe, PayPal, to checkout, you name it. So, why is this useful? First, it helps cover processing costs, so you don't lose money on online payment fees. Second, it keeps things transparent for your guests. The fee is shown during checkout, so they understand why the total will be slightly higher. And third, it's flexible. You can set different fees for different payment gateways. Now let's take a look at how it all works in detail. To find the new settings, go to Accommodation, then Settings, and switch to Payment Gateways. All online payment gateways now include transaction fee settings, and yes, this even applies to the test payment methods. You'll see two fields, one for a fixed transaction fee and one for a percentage-based fee. Pay on arrival and direct bank transfer don't include these options because those are offline payment methods. For example, pay on arrival is a manual process. The guest pays at the property, not online. They might pay with cash or with a credit or debit card at your reception terminal, sometimes even by check. From the system's perspective, no online transaction happens. There is no payment processor involved, so there are no automatic transaction fees. The same logic applies to direct bank transfer. The guest manually sends money from their bank account to yours. The booking system isn't involved in that process. In contrast, online payment gateways work differently. PayPal, to checkout, Stripe, Braintree, and Beamstream are all online payment processors. Let's take Stripe as an example. Here, I've already set transaction fees for Stripe, but first let's look at how these fees work in theory. The fixed transaction fee is a flat amount added to what the guest pays at checkout, whether that's the full reservation cost or just a deposit. The percentage transaction fee works a little differently. It's calculated as a percentage of the amount the guest pays at checkout. And again, I'd like to highlight that both types of fees can apply either to the full reservation amount or only to the deposit. In other words, the fee is always based on the amount actually paid at checkout, depending on your setup. You can use both fixed and percentage fees together, which is helpful if your payment gateway charges both types of fees. The figures I'm using here reflect real industry standard ranges in euros for Europe, and they're suitable for showing guests how fees appear during checkout. Your actual merchant agreement may include different negotiated rates, so treat these values as realistic examples, not required settings, okay? And finally, once you've entered the fees you need, don't forget to save your changes. Alright, now let's make a quick booking, like something you might do in real life. So when I start on the site, I go through all the familiar steps. Then we come to the price breakdown. You might notice the total includes an extra fee. In my case, it's a cleaning fee. And just so you know, with hotel booking, you can set up this kind of fee too. Don't forget about this. So, and once all the required fields are filled in, we move on to choosing the payment methods. Here I'll pick Stripe since that's the gateway I set up for the transaction fee. Now, take a look. The transaction fee shows up clearly alongside the total price in brackets. This way, your guests immediately see any additional costs. Next, on the reservation received page, all the usual booking and payment details appear, and if you look at the payment details table under the total, you'll notice an asterisk that's pointing out something important, and if we hover over it, it reminds us of the exact transaction fee. Now, there is one more key point about invoices. If you're using the invoice add-on to generate instant invoices, the transaction fee won't appear there. As you can see, the transaction fee is visible at checkout, but it doesn't appear as a separate line on the invoice. That's because it represents a payment processing cost, not the accommodation service itself. Scenario number 2. Now, instead of the full amount, my guest will pay a deposit. My deposit type is set to %, so I've updated the settings here under the General Settings tab. In this example, the system calculates the deposit amount, 84 euros and 30 cents. Then it applies the fees. Now we can make sure the transaction fee is calculated only on the amount the guest pays at checkout, not on the full booking total. The next part of the video will focus on scenarios where you're using not just the standalone hotel booking plugin, but also its add-ons. We've already mentioned the PDF invoices add-on, and as we discussed earlier, the transaction fee doesn't appear there. But now let's move on to the hotel booking multi-currency add-on, which has been updated to stay in sync with hotel booking. As you might have noticed, the default currency on my site is euros, and with the multi-currency add-on, guests can switch currencies and convert prices with just one click. This time I'm going to switch to dollars and book the room with the recalculated property rates. At checkout, you'll see a notice: since the hotel's base currency is euros, the system shows an approximate amount in US dollars for reference. The actual payment will still be processed in euros, in this case 48 euros plus a 96-cent transaction fee. And you can see that clearly in the notice. The final amount in dollars might vary a little based on the exchange rate or the guest's card issuer. Still, it's clear that hotel booking is well optimized for handling multiple currencies. As for the invoice, it will be generated in the currency you've chosen. In my case, US dollars. Next, let's check out the dashboard, specifically the bookings menu. Each booking with the transaction fee has a record here in the additional information box. Whether the guest paid the full amount or just a deposit, you'll see that the transaction fee has been applied. Then, in the payment history menu, when you open a payment, you'll notice two new fields. The first one is the gateway fee. This shows the actual processing fee reported by the payment provider after a payment is completed. Keep in mind, not all gateways provide this information, and sometimes it may appear as 0. The second field is the added transaction fee. This is the fee the guest sees at checkout and the amount that you, as a owner, are compensated for. You can compare this with the gateway fee to see the difference between what the guest paid and what the processor charged. And by the way, from this list view, you can see all payments with the transaction fee included. And it's a quick and convenient way to confirm that everything is accounted for. Okay. Next, let's talk about the payment request add-on. With this add-on, you can collect payments from guests before their arrival. You can send a deposit request based on your deposit settings, ask for a specific percentage of the booking total, or set a flat amount for upfront payment. This way, you can easily get either the full amount or just part of it depending on your setup. On my side, guests pay the deposit first and then the remaining balance a few days before arrival. As you can see, with the deposit, the guest will also pay the transaction fee, just like we saw before. Once the deposit is paid, the booking is automatically confirmed. The guest receives a confirmation email right away. The remaining balance link is normally sent automatically a few days before arrival, but you can also send it manually if you want. That's exactly what I'm going to do here, so we can see the email and the link straight away. I open the booking, then disable the automatic payment request, and after updating, I click Send in the box to send the balance due link. Now, checking the inbox, I open the new email and click Pay Balance Now. That takes me to the payment request page where we see the price breakdown and the payment history. Even though this is one booking, the guest pays in two steps. Each step counts as a separate payment, and the transaction fee is applied each time the payment gateway processes a payment. Last but not least, the hotel booking accommodation-based payments add-on has also been updated. This plugin lets you configure payments separately for each accommodation type, so you can link a specific Stripe or PayPal account to each one. That means payments go directly to the right account. In terms of transaction fees, it also means each account owner can set their own fee. For example, imagine you're managing multiple properties for different owners. One property belongs to owner A, so their payments go straight to their Stripe or PayPal account. Another property belongs to owner B, whose payments go to a different account. Each owner can receive payments directly and configure the transaction fees they prefer, all automatically. Now let's look at an example. Both rooms have the same rate, but they're linked to different Stripe accounts, each with a different percentage transaction fee set in the accommodation type settings. Let's start with the classic double room. The total price is 80 euros and the guest pays a deposit of 24 euros plus a transaction fee of 95 cents. Next, the superior oceanfront room. The total price is still 80 euros and the deposit is again 24 euros, but this time the transaction fee is 61 cents. This shows that the system applies the transaction fee configured for each accommodation Stripe account and accommodation type. Payments and fee compensation go exactly where they should for each owner. Well, to sum things up, transaction fees in hotel booking are designed to be flexible, transparent, and fully automated. You can configure fixed and percentage-based fees for each online payment gateway and clearly show them to guests during checkout. The system automatically calculates and applies these fees to the amount paid, whether that's the full reservation, a deposit, or a balance payment. You can track everything in the dashboard, compare what guests paid with the actual gateway fees, and stay confident that nothing gets lost along the way. The feature also works seamlessly with add-ons like multi-currency payment requests and accommodation-based payments, even when different owners use different payment accounts and fee settings. The result is a payment flow that's fair for you, clear for your guests, and easy to manage. No manual calculations, no hidden costs, and no extra hassle. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to turn on the bell so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching and see you next time.